Well, initially, it was in 2003 that former President Yahya Jammeh made the announcement to a shell-shocked nation about Gambia's huge oil potential. A lot of people dismissed the idea and thought it was cheap propaganda by the president. Subsequently, there were several Australian companies that have been coming back and forth, but nothing substantive was made until President Jammeh left the office in 2017. Now, when President Barrow was ushered in, a number of companies also came with a view to prospecting the country's oil potential. The Gambia River has been the country's main natural resource, even though a lot of concerned Gambians worry over the years how the river has been underutilized. But the Gambia on the whole has more than the river. Jere Barrow, Director General of the Petroleum Commission of the Gambia, in an interview published by a YouTube channel called AOW, Investing in African Energy, made this disclosure.
And one of the biggest, basins in Africa with new discoveries made very close to the Gambian offshore prospective areas in Senegal and Mauritania. These discoveries are on trend with the prospects and plays similar play concepts found in the Gambia, Senegal, and Mauritania to the north. Specifically, one of the main distinction, or what made Gambia stand out from many of the other competing countries is that we have, despite a very small prospective offshore area, have extensive coverage with both 2D and 3D seismic. And of course, recently acquired some very useful technical data from the recent wells that have been drilled. In the past 5 years, 2 deep offshore wells have been drilled, technically successful, in reaching all the objectives that were set prior to the drilling of those wells. These have, additionally provided some very useful, subsurface knowledge and understanding that had furthered the risk, the opportunities, and the prospects that have been identified. I think those are, some of the key, subsurface opportunities that makes Gambia stand out. The geology, the prospects are on trend with established discoveries to the north, extensive coverage with 2D and 3D, and recent wells have been drilled with, complete wireline suits acquired over this, in the 2 wells that have been drilled. Because what we learned over the years is that for international oil companies, capacity of the institutions that they deal with matters a lot to them. It, enhances a smooth, or it ensures smooth, execution of transactions, and then their implementation when it comes to that. So based on this, the government over the past 5 years created a highly organized, highly organized institutions, but beyond those 3 institutions, also built capacity within other government institutions that have that has mandates that overlap with the the petroleum sector, for example, the Ministry of Finance, the revenue authorities, who have major roles to play in the design of the fiscal, policies that govern the petroleum sector, the Ministry of Justice. This represents, I think this makes the Gambia stand out from the crowd when it comes to the choice of investment in the upstream. Because if you look at the Gambia compared to most, it's very small. For you to see, like 2 wells being drilled within 5 years, it is deep offshore wells for that matter, being drilled within 5 years, it's a huge, success story for upstream. Yeah.
Back in 2018, an Australian TV outlet ran an interview with the then managing director of an Australian company that was contracted by the Gambian authorities to dig the country's oil wells.
But all is not lost, actually, for us. I think the results of the Samo well are going to give us a new data point in the basin that is going to help us better place the next well we drill. We have to keep reminding ourselves that we've got 5 billion barrels of oil in place to just 20 kilometres to the north in the SNE field. And it's highly unlikely that with such a prolific oil-generating source rock that we're only going to have one working trap. And what's encouraging for us is that we did see some hydrocarbon shows in the well, and we'll be taking that data now and reworking our geological model. But we do have to keep reminding ourselves that we've got a lot of other prospects to get on with in the A2 and A5 blocks.
And we did notice you have a 6-month extension. What will you do in that time?
So the 6-month extension gives us until June, end of June next year, before we need to make up our minds about continuing into the next phase of the licence. And of course, we've got a lot of work to do integrating these well results, which are highly important. So one of the key things about this part of the basin is that the geology sitting above the reservoir is highly complex. We found that when we drilled the initial SNE discoveries. So we've found that again in Samo. So we've got a lot of work to do in terms of integrating the geological results we got from Samo into our reservoir and, well, into our database.
You almost had a free carry on this well from Petronas, didn't you?
Oh, we did better than a free carry, actually, Danny. So fully carried for our 40% up to a well cost of US dollars 45 million, which we didn't reach in this well because we drilled so efficiently. But Petronas also paid us another 9.6 million US dollars in cash, which easily covered the 20% carry that we'd given to Aaron, our joint venture partner. In fact, I have to say that from the first day we looked at Gambia through to what we forecast will be the wash up after we've drilled this well, FAR will have invested 1 million Australian dollars. And I think that any company would have paid $1 million to drill an 800 million barrel prospect. And in fact, it's exactly what our shareholders want us to do, capture these type of opportunities and get paid to drill them.
Speaking of your shareholders, do you feel that the market reaction has been an overreaction? It does seem like you're saying a lot of positive things.
Yes, well, unfortunately, timing is everything in this business. And on Friday, when we made our announcement, it coincided with a drop in the oil price globally, and that's been continuing for the last few days. So we've really had a double whammy. We still have our fantastic SNE field and about 100 million barrels of oil to our name in both SNE and the FAN discoveries. So at the moment, it values them at less than $3 US a barrel, which is very low. So we'd expect, once the market settles down, to see some correction.
And do you expect the market to settle down for prices to come back up?
Well, I think that generally the market is forecast to be very volatile until the end of the year, but there's no doubting that demand for oil is due to outstrip supply in the next couple of years. So most forecasters are forecasting a pretty healthy 2019 onwards.
So what's next for this acreage, this area?
Well, of course, we're still in the hole. We're still plugging. When we made our announcement on Friday, we were still doing our wireline logging. We'll be handing over the rig on Friday or Saturday this week, depending on how we're going. And so what's next is really integrating the well results with the geological database and planning to drill another well, hopefully at the end of 2019. We've got a couple of other prospects that are not affected by the results of Samo. So we do need to just go and double check, but it's highly likely that we'll be preparing to drill again next year.
There are tremendous opportunities in this sector, only that in Africa, oil discoveries have sometimes turned out to be a curse instead of blessing. What will the Gambia government do if the oil revenue start trickling in?